Yeah, our CBS News partners revealing some new GPS data from the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, tracking the movements of the boat Nolan Wells was on before he disappeared July.
If you've been following this case, you know the basics. Nolan Xavier Wells, 18, went missing during a July 4th boat trip to Horn Island, Mississippi, and was found dead 2 days later. His friends and a young woman named Katie McCormack gave two conflicting accounts of his final words before that boat left without him, and nobody has ever said which one is accurate. Since our last update, new data, a direct meeting with prosecutors, and a funeral date have all moved this case forward, and none of it has resolved the one question that actually matters most to his family. Welcome back to True Crime Case. If you go with a group, you stay with a group. That's what Elmore Wansley taught his son. Nolan didn't break that rule, or he did, depending on which one of two people you believe. And that single sentence is why this case is now headed to a grand jury. Start with what's actually new: GPS data. CBS News obtained records from the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources, tracking the boat Nolan's friends were on, hour by hour, on July 4th. The boat left the private dock at 9:56 that morning and reached Horn Island by 11:14. Around 3 p.m., Nolan was last seen talking with Katie McCormack on the beach. At 4:31 p.m., the boat left the island. Nolan was not on it. That's not new. That part of the story you already know. What's new is everything the GPS shows happened after. The boat didn't just go home. It returned to its original dock, then moved again into Fort Bayou at 5:52 p.m., back to the dock by 6:06. Then, at 7:19 that evening, its tracked position shifted once more to the Fort Bayou boat launch, where it was pulled from the water and towed by vehicle to a residence in Biloxi belonging to the boat's owners. 4 separate, automatically logged movements, all after Nolan was left behind. Not one trip home, but a sequence spanning several hours and real distance. This is the exact window investigators are now working to explain, and it's the first time the public has seen hard, untouched data instead of second-hand accounts of that afternoon. If new developments like this are what keep you coming back to this case, subscribe now, because prosecutors just gave their most direct answer yet on where this is actually headed. On July 15th, Christine and Elmore Wansley sat down face-to-face with Jackson County District Attorney Angel Myers McIlrath, their first direct meeting with her office since Nolan's body was recovered. Attorney Ben Crump described it as respectful and candid. Here's the part people keep getting wrong about what came out of that meeting. Once the Jackson County Sheriff's Office finishes its investigation, the findings go to a grand jury, which is standard procedure in the county for deaths under these circumstances. That is not a verdict. It's not an accusation against any specific person. It doesn't mean charges have been filed, and it doesn't mean investigators have concluded a crime occurred. It's a mechanism, not a resolution, though a grand jury does carry real power, including the ability to subpoena witnesses who might otherwise decline to talk. Crump also used that meeting to correct a claim that had spread widely online, that the FBI had effectively taken over the case. According to statements from the Bureau, its involvement has been limited to specific elements, primarily threats made against people connected to the investigation that crossed state lines and fell under federal jurisdiction. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office has remained the lead agency throughout, from the original search, which also involved the U.S. Coast Guard and the National Park Service alongside Marine Resources, to the investigation as it stands today. The FBI's role has been support, not command. And then there's the phone. Still, as of this recording, the single piece of evidence the family believes could hold the clearest answers about Nolan's final hours. At the July 15th meeting, both sides agreed to something new, a joint inspection, with experts representing the family, working alongside investigators, examining the device together instead of releasing separate, competing findings. Attorney Eric Hertz is leading that effort for the family, alongside former law enforcement professionals brought in for the technical work. That inspection still hasn't happened. The family is still waiting, the way they've been waiting through nearly every stage of this. The search, the coroner's confirmation of Nolan's identity through dental records, the meeting with the DA, and now the phone. While all of that has been moving forward procedurally, two pieces of misinformation from earlier in this case have now been formally corrected. And it's worth walking through them, because both shaped what people believed before anyone checked whether they were true. A photo of Nolan at a pool party circulated widely after his body was found, with many online treating it as proof he'd been alive after July 4th. Rolling Stone confirmed, through photo metadata and an account from his friend Treston Shepard, that the image was actually taken on June 27th, a full week before Nolan ever went to Horn Island. It had simply been uploaded on July 5th, which caused the confusion in the first place. Separately, a video many believed captured Nolan arguing with someone shortly before he disappeared turned out to feature Shepard's own voice, not Nolan's, something Shepard clarified directly. Both corrections are now public record. What none of this touches is the actual unresolved contradiction underneath it all. Warren Hudson, one of the friends on the trip, has said Nolan told the group directly that he intended to stay behind on the island. His mother, Judge Ashley Cole, has defended his account publicly, saying it's been consistent from the start, that Nolan chose to remain, and that the boat itself had mechanical trouble around the time it left. Katie McCormack's account, confirmed by her mother Gracie McCormack, says the opposite, that Nolan told her he planned to get back on the boat before it pulled away. Ben Crump has said Katie's account has been specific and hasn't wavered. Somewhere in that gap between two first-hand versions of the same afternoon is the real story. And right now nobody, not the family, not investigators, not Crump's office, has been able to close it. Because here's what that gap actually costs this family, and it's worth sitting with before we move on. Grief has a shape to it. It's the loss of a person. This is something else. Not knowing your own son's final decision. Did he choose to stay, or did he mean to come home and something stopped him? That question is the one the Wansleys still can't answer, months into this now, and it's the reason nothing else about this case has felt settled to them, no matter how much new data comes in. If this case has stayed with you the way it's clearly stayed with this family, this is the moment to make sure you don't miss what comes next. Hit subscribe, because the phone inspection alone could change everything we just walked through. The most recent development is the most human one. Christine Wansley announced that her son's homegoing service will be held Monday, July 20th, at Centerpoint Church in Ocean Springs, the same community that watched him grow up and play football. Visitation runs from 9 to 11 a.m., with the service to follow, and a repass afterward at the Jackson County Fairgrounds. We want to celebrate Nolan, his mother said. He would not want us sitting around crying. The service will be open to friends, family, and media covering the case. Support for the family has extended well beyond Jackson County, a reflection of how far this story has traveled since it first broke. It's still, beneath every tracked coordinate and every procedural update, a family grieving a son in front of an audience of millions they never asked for. They don't get to walk away from this once it stops trending. They live inside it permanently, waiting on the same unanswered question through every single update we bring you. This case remains open in every sense. The grand jury hasn't concluded anything yet. The joint phone inspection agreed to on July 15th still hasn't taken place, and the single detail that's mattered from the very beginning, what Nolan Wells actually said, and to whom, in the last confirmed minutes before that boat pulled away, still doesn't have an answer both sides agree on. We'll keep bringing you every confirmed update the moment it happens. So here's the question worth sitting with until the next update. If you were in Christine and Elmore Wansley's position, holding two completely different versions of your son's last choice, which one would you need to believe? And could you ever really choose?